Traptrix are one of those decks that, once you've picked it up, you'll always find yourself going back to it. It always seems to hover around the edge of tournament viability, never being completely outclassed, but also never being in danger on the ban list. It's also a trap-based control deck, meaning that any good new trap card can become good support for it. That, and the fact that Konami does seem to want to keep updating it, both with new monsters and new trap hole cards for them to use. So, since this deck has so many good options, I wanted to go over the best ones to use in your Traptrix decks. I was going to start off with the trap holes, before looking at other cards, but the trap holes alone ended up becoming its own 15-minute video. While I presented it in tier list format, it's basically an overview of which trap holes are good to run in Traptrix, so make sure you go watch that video first. It's okay, this video will still be here for you when you get back. Okay, so now to cover everything that isn't a trap hole. I'll be going over them in order from most to least commonly used, so if the choices seem a bit basic at first, don't worry, the spicier stuff happens later on. First, let's start off with the most essential tech cards. You'll pretty much find these in every Traptrix build, and for good reason. They let you make a rank 4 monster on top of Sera, giving your board a bit more presence than just a single link monster that pretty much anything could beat over. So if you've never played Traptrix before, those two cards are the Phantom Knights of Shade Brigandine and Parallel Exceed. The former is great for being a trap that you can use on turn 1. You make Sera with any Traptrix monster, then set and activate this, giving you a material while triggering Sera's effect to summon another Traptrix from the deck. If you summon a Mermaleo, you even get another trap hole out of it, so basically you always want to open with this card. Plus, it's a level 4 trap monster, which gives it great synergy with Time Thief Redoer. If you make it with this and whatever Traptrix Sera summons, you get some very powerful removal out of it, which this deck does appreciate. Parallel Exceed isn't quite as strong since it doesn't actually trigger Sera, but it's still an easy way to make Rafflesia after linking into a Sera. I've seen people run 4 Mudskipper to search it, but I'd advise against that. While you can reveal a Sera to then link it into a Sera and search a Parallel Exceed, it's usually not practical to link summon again in order to actually trigger it, making it not too useful. Now, when it comes to traps, Traptrix's synergy doesn't actually end just with the trap holes. Again, check my trap hole tier list to see which ones are best when it comes to those. 2 non-trap hole traps that stand out in particular to me are Torrential Tribute and Compulsory Evacuation Device. The first is particularly good in this deck for 2 reasons. First of all, it's a normal trap that wipes the field when something is summoned. Thanks to Sera, you won't have too much trouble summoning something on your opponent's turn, since all you need to do is activate a trap card. This means you can choose to trigger it fairly easily. For example, if your opponent activates a graveyard effect and you have a Gravedigger's Trap hole. Secondly, it won't actually impact your field too much. Sera is already immune to trap effects, while Rafflesia gives your other Traptrix monsters immunity to destruction, while being immune to trap effects itself if it has materials. So basically it'll wipe your opponent's field while leaving yours more or less intact. Compulse, on the other hand, is great for its simplicity of use. While people have gravitated towards Ice Dragon's Prison for its more powerful effect, some decks do run a bunch of different types of monsters, so it might not be live when you need it the most, or just there to stop a combo before it gains too much traction. I'm not trying to say that Compulse is a better card than Ice Dragon's Prison, but being able to basically always activate it, not to mention it not being a hard once per turn, means you'll be able to reliably trigger Sera's effect on demand, which is good for if it ends up being your only monster on board. Lost Winds is worth mentioning for similar reasons, being a nice budget trap to negate monster effects while reducing your opponent's attack, which does actually come up in a deck like this fairly often. Now, because Sera is the centerpiece of the deck, and Sera's effect triggers specifically off normal traps, they obviously have a bit more synergy with the archetype than other forms of traps do. But that doesn't mean it's not worth running other types of traps. Some of them are strong enough to be worth it, even if it won't give Sera her effect. The first of these are the Solemn cards, specifically Solemn Strike and Solemn Judgment. I feel like I don't really need to explain why Strike is good, but Judgment also has the merit of being able to protect the rest of your back row from a Feather Duster or a Lightning Storm. Some continuous traps can be worth it too. Traptrix don't really use a lot of spell cards, so Anti-Spell Fragrance can be a good pick for them. Well, also Imperial Order of course, but that might not be legal for too much longer at this rate. Anti-Spell Fragrance not only slows down some decks that really need their spell cards to work, but it also protects you from the main form of back row removal for another whole turn, which might just give you the momentum that you need. Right, back to some monsters now. One of the biggest boosts Traptrix have recently got, and one of the reasons I'm making this video in the first place, is Lord of the Heavenly Prison. A level 10 rock monster with 3000 attack. You can reveal it to keep all set cards protected from destruction until the end of next turn. Additionally, if you activate a set spell or trap, you can summon this card, and if you do that the turn after you revealed it, it can also search any spell or trap. The use Traptrix to get out of this card just can't be overstated. Your whole back row being wiped is a surefire way to lose with this deck, so this solves that problem, except if your opponent is using evenly matched, I guess. It also searches any back row. It could be a Solemn that allows you to push for game next turn, a Shade Brigandine to allow your combos to go off, or even something like a Pot of Desires to draw 2 more cards next turn. Not only that, but it's also powerful going second too. Usually you can't really muster up the attack power to beat over anything while going second, but with this you have an easy to summon 3000 attack monster which can really help. It being a rock is relevant too. You can easily make a Gallant Granite with this deck, which searches it, meaning it's actually very consistent to gain access to this card. If you really want to, you can also run a Utopic Future package, and turn a Gallant Granite and a Rafflesia or something into a Utopic Draco Future, serving as an extra boss monster for the deck. Don't like the idea of having to whittle away your opponent's life points with all those small monsters? Well, take the Gren Marjorie approach of one-punching your opponent to death, and run the Utopia Double package. At the cost of running a Double or Nothing as a brick, you gain access to Utopia Double, who provides you with 10,000 attack worth of damage if allowed to resolve. It's perfect for finishing off a deck that you've sufficiently slowed down with trap holes, and will win you the game if they have a monster with 2000 or less attack left on the field, or even just a monster with 4000 or less attack if you've already resolved a treacherous trap hole. However, after drawing this card 7 times in a row in Edo Pro games, I just never want to see it again. Use this if you're feeling lucky, punk. Oh yeah, you can also just run Utopia the Lightning for a still significant 5000 attack, and also a Pentastag if you want to make that 10,000 attack become piercing, making it even easier to end games after locking down something with a Floodgate trap hole. We've now seen most of the commonly used tech, but here's one that isn't seen as often. Iron Dragon Tiamaton. It works like this. If there are 3 cards in the same column, you can summon it from your hand as a quick effect. Once summoned, it will destroy everything in that column, and then render those zones unusable. It has merit for being a level 4 material that's fairly easy to summon thanks to Sera's effect to search a trap and summon a monster, which can fill a whole column by itself, but also it gives you quick effect removal. Against a deck that really needs their link zone, it can actually shut them down fairly well, so keep this card in mind if the meta ever goes in that direction. Finally, this last card hasn't actually been released yet, but it could be a good fit for the deck. I'm talking about Into the Vrains. Basically, it special summons a monster from your hand, and immediately makes you link summon it away. It protects that monster summon too, which is nice since you really do need your Sera on the field. While it's kind of good in any deck that needs its link 1, Traptrix also like it since they aren't very good at special summoning monsters on turn 1. However, with this, Dionea becomes so much better, since you can special summon another Traptrix, link it into Sera, and then normal summon a Dionea, reviving the first Traptrix and using it to make a rank 4. Being able to add back a material if Sera does get destroyed is a nice bonus too, helping you get back on your feet if your board gets broken. So that's my overview of Traptrix tech cards. Are you planning on building a Traptrix deck, and if so, will you be using any of these? Tell me in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching!